Hi, I'm Sue from the Writers' Company, and this brief video will give you an introduction to the Omniscient Point of View. So, what is the Omniscient Point of View? The Omniscient Point of View is often referred to as godlike, the narrator, who tells the story, knows all, and sees all. This includes what each character is thinking, feeling, and their memories. Sometimes the narrator remains anonymous and in the background. Other times the narrator is a character. So, when might you use the omniscient point of view? The easiest way to explain this point of view is to give you some examples. Perhaps you have a sleuth trying to solve a mystery. With the omniscient point of view, you can decide how much your characters know, and this can be used to create suspense. Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None utilises this point of view, and as a result we know all the characters' fears and dirty secrets. In addition, because the narrator in this case is objective or unbiased, the reader has a chance to decide themselves whether the anonymous narrator is correct in their assumptions or not. The following excerpt highlights Christie's use of the omniscient point of view. "Will you pour out tea, Miss Brent?" The elder woman replied, "No, you do it, dear. That teapot is so heavy, and I have lost 2 skeins of my grey knitting wool. So annoying." Vera moved to the tea table. There was a cheerful rattle and clink of china. Normality returned. Tea, blessed, ordinary, everyday afternoon tea. Philip Lombard made a cheery remark. Blore responded. Dr. Armstrong told a humorous story. Mr. Justice Wargrave, who ordinarily hated tea, sipped approvingly. Where the excerpt is underlined, you can see the different characters' thoughts and feelings. Perhaps you might be writing a family saga. The omniscient point of view can be useful if you have complicated timelines and relationships. Jane Austen uses this point of view in Pride and Prejudice to subtly comment on her characters. The following excerpt highlights Austen's use of the omniscient point of view. Elizabeth listened in silence, but was not convinced. Their behaviour at the assembly had not been calculated to please in general, and with more quickness of observation and less pliancy of temper than her sister, and with a judgment too unassailed by any attention to herself, she was very little disposed to approve them. In the underlined sections, it is not the characters, Elizabeth and Jane's thoughts, but those of the author. Perhaps you are writing a fantasy or speculative story where more than one viewpoint might help you to world build. Using the omniscient point of view allows the author to move easily within time and space and describe the surroundings with descriptive language only an author rather than a character would use. An example of this is June by Frank Herbert. The following excerpt highlights Herbert's use of the omniscient point of view. Jessica's hand went to Paul's shoulder, tightened there. For a heartbeat, fear pulsed through her palm. Then she had herself under control. "Thus he has been taught, Your Reverence." What does she fear? Paul wondered. The old woman studied Paul in one gestalten flicker. Face oval like Jessica's, but strong bones, hair, the Duke's black, but with brown line of the maternal grandfather who cannot be named, and that thin, disdainful nose, shape of directly staring green eyes, like the old Duke, the paternal grandfather who is dead. Here we encountered Jessica, Paul and the Reverend's mother's feelings and thoughts. Perhaps you're writing a story set in a small town or other closed environment. Using the omniscient point of view allows the reader to learn all about the inhabitants, their backstories, their feelings, their thoughts and their complex relationships. An example is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. This excerpt highlights Dahl's use of the omniscient point of view. Mr. Wonka was standing all alone just inside the open gates of the factory. And what an extraordinary little man he was. And oh, how clever he looked, how quick and sharp and full of life. You can clearly see the narrator's voice coming through here. So what else is the omniscient point of view useful for? An omniscient narrator can divulge information about the future that the characters within the story might not know. This is useful for foreshadowing events. Here is an example written by the lovely Petra. As Lucy pulled on her tights in Singapore, James strolled into downtown Chicago and pulled out a gun. Little did they know that, 3 years from now, they would be married and living on a narrowboat in the Manchester Ship Canal. You can even use your own voice as the narrator. Readers often presume the narrator is the author if they're anonymous. You might decide to make your narrator funny or serious, but however you decide to tell the story, your omniscient narrator should stay in the background. So what are some pros and cons of using the omniscient point of view? Pros. You are not confined to telling the story through a single character. It can be useful for exploring complicated relationships between characters. You can share details of the plot and story that your characters may not be aware of, which can lead to suspense. You can move easily through time and location. And what are the cons? It can be hard to achieve and lead to head hopping if not done properly, which can be confusing for the reader. It can feel fragmented and unconvincing. It can be difficult to insert tension because the narrator has access to everything. The focus on multiple characters, their thoughts and feelings, can feel less immersive. Why not try this point of view out for yourself? If you need inspiration, further examples of novels that use this point of view are Louisa May Alcott's Little Women and Neil Gaiman's Stardust. I hope you have found this short video from the Writers' Company useful. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.